Yeah. So, Dwayne, whereabouts did you grow up?
I grew up 6.5 miles south of Odessa on a farm.
On a farm? What kind of farm did you have?
Well, we had livestock. We had 160 acres of pasture all along the river, so we always had at least 12 milk cows and a bunch of steers to feed out. And Dad always raised around 100 hogs every year. So
that was a pretty big farm then. Probably
there was 307 or 308 acres under cultivation, I guess there was.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do you have? What do you have for a tractor then at that time?
Dad bought his first tractor in 1930, a regular farm wall.
Okay.
Yeah. With a cultivator. That's the only tractor around there that had a cultivator.
Oh.
Went to cultivator and we had a plow for it. And, yeah.
I bet you spent some time on that.
I had a lot of seat hours on that thing, I tell you that. And those steel wheels.
Yeah. I bet it probably doesn't ride very nice.
No, it didn't. No, steel wheels and then the old steel seat to sit on. But we thought we had everything.
Oh, it was. That would have been the best that there was.
Sure, yeah.
At the time.
We was the first ones in the whole neighborhood to get a tractor that we could use for
for cultivator or for
everything. They had tractors there. They was all big ones that used for thrashing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Well.
Where'd you go to school at?
There was this country school just 1.25 miles from our farm.
Okay.
So I had glorious 8 years at that place. And after I graduated from 8th grade, then the next 4 years I spent going to school in Bellingham.
Oh, you went that direction?
Yeah.
Oh.
Our place was the same distance to Odessa, the same distance to Bellingham.
Okay.
Bellingham had school bus service. Odessa didn't.
And that was the decision?
That was the decision.
I can see that.
Yeah. I started there and it was the first year. No, it's the second year. And my mother got very ill and she was in the hospital in Minneapolis. And she was just barely hanging on for a long time. And so Dad was down there, so what was I? I was the farmer.
Oh, I bet.
Yes.
What year would have that been about?
1939.
39?
Yeah.
Well, that must have been quite a trip just to get a sick person from Bellingham to the cities.
Yeah, and I always was going to ask Dad how she got down there. I don't even remember. I can't remember if Dad took her down or if there was a ambulance service, or I don't remember that.
Yeah, that's a long trip.
Oh yeah, you're darn right. But she went in the hospital the first week of school.
Okay.
In September, and I after the first week, then that's when I started staying home, and I was on and off to school until the 6th of December. That's when they brought her back.
Oh.
That long she was down there.
That's a long time.
Yeah. They finally took out a kidney, and then she had cancer, and then she was treated for that, and they finally let her go home.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you have any brothers and sisters?
One sister, yeah. She's living down here in the high-rise.
Okay.
She was married to a Gleggy.
Oh, okay.
You know Kevin Glegg?
Yep.
Yeah, that's my nephew.
Oh, I never knew that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Kevin had a brother. He passed away about, I suppose that's 20 years ago now. He had diabetes and he wouldn't take care of himself, and he finally didn't make it.
Okay.
Yeah, so.
Did someone help? Did you have other family that helped you on the farm then?
Nope, I was all alone.
All alone?
All alone.
Oh, wow. With all those animals.
I cut the last cutting of alfalfa and put it up myself, and I put it all in the barn too.
You must have worked like 24 hours a day.
Well, no, not that much.
Not that much?
But from the time it got light till it was dark, practically.
It was. That's a lot of work.
Yeah.
That'd be a lot of work.
And Dad tried something new that year that nobody knew about at that time, and that was raising soybeans.
Okay.
So he he had 10 acres into soybeans. And so one weekend he was home, and I said, what do you plan on doing with those soybeans? He said, well, as soon as they're ripe enough, he says, we got to cut them and shock them. Got to cut them with a binder. And I said, oh, okay. And nothing more was said. Well, I kept watching it, and one day I thought, oh my gosh, they should be cut, I think. So I get the binder out of the shed and greased it up and got the tractor out and out in the field I went. And I cut it and I shocked it. When it was dry, I hauled it in and stacked it.
Oh, really?
All by myself.
You learned on the job on that one.
I certainly did. Yeah. Yeah.
What did they... So there was no beans in the area at that time then?
That was the first beans that anybody knew of in our area down there.
Okay.
Yeah.
What did the elevator take them then?
No.
Or what did they do with them?
I thrashed them out. We had our own thrash machine, and I thrashed it out while Dad was gone, and I put them all in the granary, and he wanted me to mix it when we ground feed.
Oh, okay.
So maybe like 3 shovels full to that, to 1 shovel full of something else, and so yeah.
Okay, so you fed it all out.
Fed it all out.
Okay.
We never had livestock that looked as nice as it did that winter. Feeding them beans, they get pretty nice.
Yeah.
And the horses did too. Oh, guys, they like that. I've always mixed a little bit in their ground feed when I fed them.
Okay. When did so then did the neighbors all have beans in the next year?
No.
Or did it take a little
Dad
bit?
was the first one in Larkapelle County. So we was told.
That's pretty amazing. Yeah. I never knew that.
Yeah. Yeah. That was the beginning of it for everything that we knew about it.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Then did you graduate from Bellingham?
Yes, I did. Yeah. I spent 5 years because the first year, Mother didn't get back to the farm until about 2.5 weeks before Christmas.
Yep.
And so all of that time I was hit and miss, and most of the time I was missing. And the superintendent told me to take my test at the end of the year. If I passed them, fine. If I didn't, I'd have to take them over. Well, I had 5 subjects, and I passed 2 and didn't pass 3. So I had to take that over again. So I did. And
yep.
So it ended up that in my senior year, I only had to take 2 subjects. So
it was an easy senior year then.
Yeah. I was all over the country at that time. That was in 1943, yeah.
Okay.
Right during the war.
Right during the war.
Yeah. And a guy that was our livestock hauler, I knew him real well, and he often would call me and want to know if I couldn't help or something for going out and loading up while he was going to the cities or something. So I told the superintendent what the deal was, and of course, any of the boys could go in and tell the superintendent they couldn't come to school because they couldn't get a hired man if they was paid for it,
Yeah.
So all the kids were the hired men. So that's the way that ended up. Yeah.
I suppose everyone was at that point. Everyone was working all the time.
Oh yes. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
So then, how did you get into the military? From working as a senior all the time.
Well, when I was after I graduated in '43, and that summer, I had a friend here in Ortonville that I met, got acquainted pretty good with him. He was working at the roller skating rink, and I was helping out there every once in a while too. And he was the one that encouraged me to probably do more than just farming. And then one day he comes up to me and he said, "You know what I did last night?" I said, "What?" He said, "I joined the State Guard." The State Guard is a guard that just for the state, for your local, in case of a disaster, because they needed somebody back here that they could call on to help out if they needed help,
Okay.
And they could not be drafted into the service, but it was just a local organization. And we had the first sergeant, the exec, and the commander. All were World War I veterans.
Oh,
Infantry veterans.
Infantry. Wow. So was that in Ortonville then?
Yeah, that was at the Armory.
That was at the Armory?
Yeah.
So was that the Guards, the National Guards, like the beginning of it, or was this a separate entity to it?
This is the State Guard.
State Guard,
Yeah.
okay.
The National Guard had been called in already. They was called in 1941.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, but they used the same building.
Yep.
You used the same building. Okay.
Yeah.
So how many people was there then?
In the Guard at that time?
Yeah.
We had 66.
Well, that's a lot of people.
Yeah. Some of them were 65, 70 years old, but they wanted to get in and do something,
Yeah.
So, yeah. And we had a lot of senior boys from the school come down and join the State Guard. And I just enjoyed the heck out of it. And one day the commander said to me, he said, after the opening formation, he said, "I want you to take the company and march them today." I said, "I don't think so. I've never done that." He said, "You can't learn any younger." He said, "You get out there and do it." So I did, and I guess I done pretty good. He said, "From now on," he said, "you teach all the dismounted drill and the manual arms, because you had to learn the manual arms, because we carried these old 3 rifles at that time." Yeah. So that's how I got started.
That's how you got started. So what was the age limit on that? Was it like 17 then?
Yeah, they could come in at 17, and we had 2 guys that was 70 years old that come in with us.
Was that, how often did you meet?
Once a week.
Once a week? Like at night?
Yep. Yeah, Monday night.
What would you drill on?
We had classes, and the classes were, we had a doctor in the unit. He taught first aid, which was quite interesting and worthwhile knowing about.
Yeah.
And then let's see. There was a couple sergeant first class. Don't remember what they taught now, but they got out of the Army. They was in for a couple of years, and then there was after some illness or something, I don't know. So they knew something about it. So they did a lot of helping too.
Okay.
And then, I don't know, the commander was on me constantly about do this, do that, and pretty soon I was the old fella.
You were the old fella. That's kind of the way the military works.
Yeah.
You get moved, shuffled through.
When I was drafted, then I was down in Alabama, and the second week I was there, I got called into the office, and the commander says to me, he says, "How much damn military you had?" And so I told him what I had, and he said, "Good. You're the platoon sergeant of the 2nd platoon. We just lost him." so I gave all of the infantry training that I knew, But
So I suppose you were way ahead of the people that got drafted that hadn't been in the State Guard. You knew more probably than anyone there.
Yeah. It's all come easy for me, and I was having more fun than anything.
Yeah. So then you could still get drafted from the State Guard?
Yeah, you could get drafted out of it. Oh,
Okay.
Yes. Oh, yes, you bet. Yeah.
So at the time, were a lot of people getting drafted then around?
Oh, yes.
How did that work? Could you explain, like, the draft in World War II?
Well, in the first place, every county had 5 people on the board. And they was the ones that selected who they was going to draft. And how they did that, I never really did find out.
Okay.
But
So it was up to those 5 people, though?
Yep.
And didn't every county have to supply so many people?
Yes.
Is that kind of...
They'd get their orders out from Fort Snelling to how many people that they wanted them to be drafted into the Army at a certain time.
Okay.
And you had to furnish them then for that. So, yeah.
So then you went from here to Alabama?
Yep.
Was that the first time? That must have been the first you ever went?
Yep.
How'd you get there?
By train.
By train?
Yeah.
Had you been on trains before?
No, I'd never been on a train. No.
So just that must be an experience.
Oh, it was.
How long did it take to get to Alabama on a train? Was it like weeks? Like a week?
Oh,
or just...
no. I think it was 3.5 days.
Okay.
I think that's what it was, yeah. Yeah.
What base did you get to go to in Alabama? Do you know?
You know, I used to know that just like that, but right now I can't
that's
tell
fine.
It was in the northern part of the state. And I can't even tell you the name of the place, but it was an infantry training base is what it was.
What time of the year did you get there?
I got there in June.
So it must have been hot.
Oh, it was terribly hot. Yes, very hot. Yeah. But I got by pretty good because I wasn't doing everything all the rest of the young guys were doing. I was teaching it.
Teaching, yeah. So then was that kind of the basic training?
Yeah, that was
basic training.
That was basic training, yeah. That's what that. Oh gosh, that wasn't Claiborne. There was a name, something like that. I can't tell you now.
Okay.
I should have brought some of those papers along. But anyway, yeah, it was a camp that they built up at the beginning of World War II. Yeah.
For basic training.
Yeah. We lived in tents. Yeah.
How'd that go? Did you enjoyed it?
Oh yeah, I really enjoyed it. I couldn't say I enjoyed it so much before I got to be a cadre, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I knew then that I was going to probably be involved in more military stuff than this during those few years. That is.
Oh yeah, I bet.
Yeah, after that bunch that I was teaching when they was rotated out, that's when I was rotated out too. And I had orders to go to, I can't tell the name of the place now, in Washington. And that's where I got on the boat then.
So were you, when you were in Alabama, did you go to basic, then did you go to like an advanced school to become, or was just everyone was an infantryman at that time?
Yeah. At that post.
At that post, yeah. Everyone that came out of that post was an infantryman?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then how did you get to Washington? Train again?
Yep. Yeah. I come home on a 42-day en route to Washington, and it was in the summertime. So what do you suppose I did that summer?
I bet you weren't slacking.
I shocked all the grain for my dad. He had 190 some acres of oats and wheat. And I shocked the whole doggone works.
I bet you were hoping to go back to the Army at that point.
Yes, because to begin with, and I should have started out with telling you the story, I left home. After a year and a half at home after I graduated from high school, I was a little bit unhappy with my dad. I shouldn't say a little bit, a lot unhappy. Because he always, from the time I was a little kid, he always had a hired man. Well, when the war comes on, he couldn't get a hired man. Mm-hmm. So when I come along, I was the hired man. Only this hired man didn't get paid.
It was an unhired man.
So I complained about it.
Yep.
You know, at one evening at the dinner table, and well, Dad said, "What the heck do you mean you're not getting paid? You're getting room and board. What else do you want?" I said, "Well, what did you pay the hired man?" He said he was getting $40 a month. I said, "Why can't I get $40 a month? I'm doing the same thing he did." Well, he said, "You're different." That's the only answer.
Yeah.
And from that time on, Dad and I didn't get along very well. And so then I come back from World War II, and I helped him out a little bit now and then, but I was in town here then.
Oh, but yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah.
That was
It was different.
It was different. That had to have been a lot of work on
Oh.
your leave. Like a lot of other people were probably out gallivanting and you were shucking.
Yeah.
Great.
When we left Alabama, we was sent to Washington. No, yes, it was too. No, it wasn't either. Not that time. No, this was right north of San Francisco. I forget the name of the post now. But anyhow, oh gosh, I don't know how long we was there, but we never got called. But they always said, "Well, they haven't got enough ships to carry everybody." We were waiting for a ship. Well, finally that came, and by that time the war was over.
Okay.
I think it was just the day before we got on the boat that when we was told that, well, the big hullabaloo at the post that night because the war was over. So we thought they was going to send us right home. Oh no! So
Still got on the ship.
oh yeah, we went over on the USS Marine Devil, and it was a devil.
So how big a ship was, or how many people were on the ship, do you think?
Well, one of the big holes in the bottom of the ship held 600 people, and the other one was 300, and then for the cadre, I think that was 150, and the cadre was up there, and I don't know how I wasn't cadre, but I got up in the cadre once.
You got lucky?
Yeah. So I had it a little better than most of them.
How tight? So do you just have your bed then? Was it was
just your bed? Then they was 6 high.
6 beds high?
And there was about that much room for your face. They had the next guy's bed.
Yeah, and just rows of them.
Oh yeah, just row after row. Yeah. Oh, it was not good.
I bet it wasn't. So then, did they have any room where you could get out of your bed and do anything?
Oh, there was times when they let so many go up on top of the ship, you know.
Okay.
On the open part, yeah.
How'd you eat?
Oh, there's a huge mess hall.
Okay, so you got out of your bunk to eat.
Oh yes, oh yeah,
Okay.
oh yeah, yeah. I volunteered. They wanted to know if anybody volunteered to do work while we're going overseas. I said yes, because I thought we better be doing something than looking and watching the water wave, you know.
Yeah.
So I was put in the mess hall, and my job was to make the coffee. And the guy that taught me everything I was supposed to know, and I made 55 gallons of coffee at a time.
Well, that is a big coffee maker.
I'd fill it half full of water and dump in a sack full of coffee. Yeah. And lo and behold, I was dumping some in, and I thought, gosh darn it, am I splashing? Where is that water coming from? It's not, I couldn't see any leak or anything here. So I went and told the mess sergeant about it. Oh, he said, don't worry about a little water. What in the hell's wrong with you? That made me mad. And before I knew it, it was up to my ankles.
Oh.
Yeah. So when I had a little time, I went back and complained again. Yeah, he said, you got a pretty good story there, but you just want to get out of work. And I said, no, you go down and take a look. Well, he wouldn't do it. So I went back down. By that time, it was up to my knees.
Oh, no.
And we had in the dining room, we had tables that were that wide and 16 feet long. And people stand on both sides. And we was in water up to our knees. And people was getting sick, and they try and have a meal.
Yeah.
You know what happens then?
That's not good.
No, it wasn't good at all. No, it wasn't good at all.
So where's the water all coming from then?
I don't know where it was, but then after the third day, when it all dried up. So.
Oh, wow. So could you really feel the waves then?
Oh, yes, you better believe it. Yeah.
Did a lot of people get sick from that?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah. I was fortunate. When I get to feeling a little funny, if I wasn't on duty doing something, I went up on top right away, got some air. And
that'd take care of it or help?
Yeah, that took care of me. Yeah.
So how long did it take you to get, like when you left the coast of the U.S.?
Took us 33 days. It should have only taken 13. Oh. Because we got out on the ocean and they didn't know where to take us. They said they'd be sending us their orders. Or that's what we was told.
Yep.
And we didn't know, so we was going around in circles for a long time, Pretty big circle.
That is a big circle.
Yeah.
I bet you're ready to get off that boat after 33 days.
Oh, gosh, was we ever. Oh, man.
Could you see land then?
No.
You never could?
No. Mm-mm. No. Once in a while, you'd get the duty on, they had 50 caliber machine guns, and you get to man one of those, because there was these, what did they call them now? Big deals that float out there, and you hit them, they blow up.
Oh, like a mine?
Yeah, it was a mine, but it was called something else in the water, And we had one on each side of the boat with 50 calibers, and if we seen one, we were supposed to shoot it, and it would blow up, of course. So that was our job there. I think I had that 2 or 3 different times.
Seems like a pretty important job.
Yeah. No, that was a different deal. But then we ended up in Yokohama, and that was the replacement center then. And they had tents set up outside, and I got into a tent with 6. I think there were six of them, and then me and myself. We had 7 in that tent. And the ones that was in there was all World War I vets from the European theater.
Oh.
Yeah, their time wasn't up yet, so they sent them into a different job. So, but anyway, about the third day we was in there, and nobody was getting orders where to go and anything. And I said something about, it's funny they haven't placed us yet. And he said, oh, just wait, we'll get it. And then one guy, they was all sergeants. There wasn't an officer in the bunch. They was all sergeants of some kind. But anyway, one of the sergeants finally cornered me one day, and he said, you're only a private? I said, yeah. Well, he said, were you going to get placed over here? What did you volunteer for? Well, the infantry. I said, that's the only thing I know. Oh, God, he said, you don't want to get in the infantry. He says, you get over there, all they'll do is train. He said, we found out that there's a military police unit that is starting up in north part of Tokyo, and they're looking for help, and they like veterans. He says, that's where we're going. Why don't you come with us? I said, well, do you think they'd take me? I'm not a veteran. Well, he said, you act like one. So I said, okay, I'll go with you. So I did, and it was the military police.
So then you became an MP?
Yeah.
Wow, those guys really were nice.
Oh, yeah. And I kind of buddied up with them for a long time after that, because they got in the police force too.
Yep.
We was all in different companies, but we got to see each other quite often.
It'd be nice to know someone at least they knew what was going on.
Yeah, right. Oh, yeah.
They had the rank and had been around.
Yeah. But it was on a Sunday that they took us from Yokohama to Tokyo. And we just got into Tokyo and we stopped at a stop sign and took off again. And here there was a whole bunch of soldiers walking on the street. And we had the tarps rolled up on the side of the truck. Mm-hmm. And here I seen Gene Gliggy walking in there. And he and I was inseparable because they just lived up the hill from us. We was together all the time, same age as I.
Yeah.
And I hollered at him and he looked at me and just like that, we had to stop at the stop sign, so we had to visit for a little bit. And I found out where he was assigned. He had been there just about a month already.
Well, that's a pretty unique that you just happened to see somebody.
Yeah. So, yeah, we got together an awful lot while we was over there.
So what was he doing?
He was in a GHQ, that was General Headquarters.
Okay.
And they put him in the... he was in the laundry department. He was already a sergeant. I wasn't a sergeant yet. They said the papers was in, but I hadn't seen him. But anyway, that's where he was.
Oh,
yeah. We was together a lot there for about a year. Yeah.
That makes it better.
Oh, yeah.
To know people.
Oh, yeah. The first job I had, it was the second day after I was there. I got all my MP equipment and everything to put on,
Yep.
And they was teaching me how to do this, how to do that, and what to do with what button to put. Oh, gosh, everything. But anyway, and I said, what are we going to be doing? There was 6 of us. I said, what are we going to be doing? I don't even know what kind of a job. Maybe I don't know nothing about it. He said, you will learn quick enough. You will learn quick enough. And come to find out what it was, we was right by General Headquarters, right downtown Tokyo. And we had a box that was, if I remember right, it was about 4 foot square, and then it was 30 inches off the ground, and that was set in between the streetcar tracks. And that's where we stood on, and we directed traffic, because all the traffic lights are all burnt out from the war.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I was on that job for 2.5 months, I think, something like that. And I really got to liking it,
So did you get to? I bet you got to know a lot of the culture.
Oh yeah, to a certain extent.
To a certain extent.
Yeah.
So what did it look like at that point? When was it pretty bombed out, like where you were, or
not? We was in an old military camp on the north end of Tokyo, and it was I don't remember now what. Anyway, it was a Japanese camp.
Okay.
Yeah.
So were you in the main city, or were you on a?
No, we was in.
You were in the like in a U.S. camp.
No, it was an ex-Japanese camp.
Okay.
Yeah, ex-Japanese war camp, army camp. Yeah. We had six units. Yeah, A, B, C, and D, and we was in each company was in a building, and it was a 2-story building. It was a wooden building, so we had nice. It was real good latrines, facilities, nice showers and everything. Oh yeah. In the wintertime, we did have a little heat.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Did the traffic you were directing, was it like civilian and military?
Yeah, both.
Just both. Okay.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, every once in a while a convoy would come through a military,
Yep.
And then most of it was Japanese. We wasn't too nice to some of them.
Well, that's what I was just going to ask. Like, did that work out? Because
Well, this was all in fun.
Yeah.
But well, to start with, they told us that whatever we do out there, that was our business. And we'll never dispute what you're doing. Mm-hmm. So we thought we was pretty smart. When he was directing traffic, you stop the traffic, and then you turn and you motion for the other ones that they could go through. And there was a lot of cars and a lot of trucks that was run with charcoal burners. And the charcoal made gas, and that's what the truck ran on.
Okay.
And if they were standing there for a little bit too much, and then the flame went down a little bit, and if they drive, they have a little draft going through, So a lot of times we'd hold them there for a long time just to get the driver a little confused. And all of a sudden we'd turn the traffic and hurry up, And then he'd have to get out, and then he'd go back there and he'd turn the fan on and turn the flames come up, and pretty soon he had a little gas going in. He jumped in the gas, and then he'd bow and
take off again.
Yeah.
I've heard of cars running like that, but I didn't know that it was on a mass scale.
Oh yeah, they had, I would say, at least a third of their cars and trucks was all run on charcoal.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, they didn't have oil over there.
Yeah, I suppose they used everything for the war effort.
Sure.
It was gone.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
It did. So how long would you direct traffic at a time?
We went on duty at 7 in the morning, and we was through at noon, and we had the rest of the day off.
Oh.
Yeah, and there was 4 of us, and we took turns. One would be in the center of there'd be a streetcar track here, one here, and we was right in between, standing on this box. And then when you got through with that, an hour at a time on each post. When you got through with that, then you went over and you stood in front of the Metropolitan Police Station. That was on that corner there. So we stood in the doorway there to help the people if they needed help, or whatever has to be down there. Make law and order, if nothing else.
Yeah.
And then from there we went to the office, which we had on the old police station there. That was on the next corner. And we was just sitting there in case anybody needed some help. I guess that was about the main thing. And then we had a half hour off, and then we started over again.
That's a pretty good duty.
Oh, it was. I really enjoyed it. And we went to work at 7 in the morning, and we was through at noon, and we had the rest of the day off.
That was...
Oh yeah,
they really got you a good one.
Oh yeah, I really enjoyed it. I was on it for, I suppose, about 6 months or so, something like that. And finally one day, Commander called me in the office, and he said, we're having a little trouble here. He said, we got a new supply sergeant, and he doesn't know. He doesn't even hardly know how to write his name. We found out. And he said, we need a supply sergeant. And he said, I'd like to have you get off of that post and be a supply sergeant. So I said, I'll try it. But if I don't like it, I'll give it up, and you can give me something else. Yeah, we'll do that. So I was a supply sergeant the rest of the time I was down there.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Was it one supply sergeant for the company then?
Yeah, one for each company.
One for each company, okay.
Yeah. I was issued a 3/4 ton. I could use it anytime I want, any time of the day or night. Yeah.
I bet that was handy.
Oh, it was. Yeah. Yeah. But every once in a while they'd be short some help, and then the commander would come in, and he said, you got somebody you can put in charge for a while? I'd sure like to have you on this job and that job. Mm-hmm. I said, yeah. So I did that. So it was the change, you know.
Yeah.
Kind of nice, you know.
Yeah.
So
Did what did you do? Like when you're doing traffic duty? What did you do on your time off? Like what was the thing to do?
the police station there, we had a nice place to sit. You know, generally the Stars and Stripes was our newspaper, you know.
Yep.
And we generally had a copy of that in there to read while we were waiting, you know.
Did you do any other things on your time off? Was there things to do around Tokyo? Like, would you go do?
Oh, you mean besides that?
Yeah, besides like when you weren't directing traffic, like when you're off duty, your off duty time.
Yeah.
What kind of stuff did you do?
Oh, we did a lot of sightseeing, and of course, after I got to be supply sergeant, I had a vehicle, so and then I did a lot of it. Yeah. And then one day the first sergeant come in and talk to me, and he said, you got a pretty sharp uniform, and you know a little bit about military. He said, we got to furnish a man down at the war crimes trials. He said, I'd like to have you take that for 2-3 days. He said, we'll see that your supply sergeant or assistant will take care of things here. So I did, yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah. And that was interesting.
I bet it was. So what did you do for that?
Well, there was several things, but most of the time we was in charge of a prisoner.
Okay.
And we'd have to pick him up at Sagama prison, which was about 3 miles from there. We have to go and pick him up and bring him back, or bring him here to the war crimes trial. And then we had to stand right behind him during the trial. You know?
So did each person have their trial right then?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Yeah. And then one day, I suppose that was about 6-7 months after I was there, I was asked if I'd go down and help them out again at the war crimes trials, and I said, yeah, I'll go down tomorrow if you get somebody to watch the supply room. So I did, and picked up my prisoner, got him, set him at this chair where he belonged, and I was standing there waiting for the thing to start, and here comes 4 girls. And they went in their chairs where they had their court reporter books and I don't know what all machines that they used at that time, but they had some machine that they was using too. And that one was a blonde, and I got a little interested. And so I asked her one day, I said, when you don't have any duty at night, do you? No. I said, would you like to go to the movie some night? Oh, yeah, I like that. Yeah. Well, I said, okay. Well, then the next day when I was there, and then she come up to me and she said, well, today is my last day here. They're firing me. I said, what did you do wrong? Nothing. But she said, when an American citizen girl wants a job, you have to give it up. And she said, I'm not an American citizen, so I have to give my job up here at the trials there. So, gosh, I found out about it, but I don't know, a week or so later, I've been inquiring all over where in the heck she went. I couldn't find her, and getting a little excited about that. And a bunch of the young chaps in my unit come up to me when we was eating supper one night, wanted to know if I wouldn't take them down to the basketball game. I said, yeah, who's playing? Well, the MPs are playing the engineers tonight. This is their last game. Oh, I said, yeah. Well, how many? Well, he said 6. I said, that's okay. I can take 6 of them. So we got in the truck and we took off, and I don't know, it was about 2-3 miles or so away from the post. And the guy sitting in front of me, and he reached over. Doggone it, he said, you know, I had the directions here, and we were supposed to pick up the girl that from Special Services that arranged this game. And he said, I left my paperback up there with all the directions. I said, well, you have any idea where she lives? No, but they always talked about that there was civilian girls living there where the big swimming pool, the Olympic swimming pool.
Oh, yeah.
Was, yeah. Because they said there was 14 houses. I said, you got that right. I said, I patrolled back there many times. I said, yes, I know there's some civilian girls back there. Well, he said, one of those girls that used to be here at the war crimes trials, she is now working for Special Services, and she was the one that arranged this game. And I said, oh, well, things are coming together. So I stopped at the house, and she walked out. There she come, and I kicked the guy in the back that was sitting in front with me, and I got her up in front. We went to the game, and I got to sit with her there. And then when it was all over with, I said to the boys and to her, I said, before we go home, do you want to go to the Ernie Pyle Theater and go to the snack bar and have a Coke and a donut before we go home? Oh, yeah. So we did that. So I sat with her there. And so then when we got by the house, I walked her up to the door. And I said, if I give you a call one of these days, would you like to go to the movie? I said, I like to go to the Ernie Pyle Theater. That's the theater I like. Oh, yeah. She said, that's beautiful. Yeah, she said, I love that. The rest is history.
Oh, wow. That is quite the way to meet your wife.
Yeah.
Man, that's a pretty chance encounter.
Yeah. 8 months later, we was married.
Wow. So, wow.
There's a big rigmarole to go through to get married to a non-citizen of the United States. I'll tell you that.
I bet.
A stack of papers that high. I had our clerk making them all out for me because he had a form to go by and everything. And he made them all out and everything. And I took them down and I took him down to the house that night when I went to see Zena. That's what it was. And we was in the dining room visiting by the table there, and her dad and mother and this. He was a civilian, but he was with CID, and I thought I'd seen him before, and then. And I thought, yeah, I know. I was on a raid with him one time. And I know the CID often come along in some of those raids. But anyway, he knew a little bit about things. And he knew that when Zena and I put in the papers to get married, he knew all about that. In fact, he looked the papers over before we sent them in. And he said, they're okay. You send them in. And they come back disapproved. So I went down to the house that night with the papers, and well, we was just sick over that thing.
I bet, yeah.
And so lo and behold, here he comes down to visit her folks. He liked to visit with her folks because he was brought up at home that they all spoke Russian. And of course, my wife was, and her family, that's all they spoke there was Russian, you know. And, yeah. There was a lot of Russians that lived over there in Tokyo.
I did not know that.
I didn't either until we got there, you know. Yeah,
had they been there for just the war, or had they been there before the war too?
After the Russian Revolution. That's when they left Russia, and they ended up they was trying to get to Tokyo, and they couldn't get there right away. And so they was in, I can't think of the name of the town now, but it's a Chinese town. And that's where her parents settled. Were there for a few years, and that's where she was born
In China?
Yeah, in China. Yeah.
And then, so did they spend the whole war in Japan then?
Oh yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Yeah, their house was bombed. Lost everything they had, and well, I shouldn't say everything because they took part of the floor up in the dining room because they had a Western style house, and they took they had a radio phonograph combination. They had a real nice dining room set. They had a buffet and a table and some chairs, and I don't know how many great big rolls of material. It looked like material, but what it was, some of their clothes was all wrapped up in this. And they took up the floor in the dining room and dug a big hole. And that's where they put all of this stuff. So just in case.
Just in case.
Yeah. And then if it did burn, it wouldn't affect that.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah. So anyhow, they did all of that, and then where they lived, there was, there was 72 blocks this way, 140 this way, and this was a little bit shorter, and then kind of an angle back. But there wasn't a thing standing except chimneys in that whole area, and it was. I don't know how many blocks you'd call it, but there's.
That's a huge area. So that had all got bombed out.
Oh yeah. Their house was burnt, right to the ground, and they was. See, my wife and her girlfriend and her girlfriend's mother, when they heard about all the sirens going off, they knew something was pretty bad. So they got out of the house, and about 4 or 5 blocks to the south of where their house was a huge railroad bridge. And that was quite wide and long. And I suppose from where the ground level was to the tracks probably was 15, 18 feet, Mm-hmm. So that's where they went. And it didn't take long. That was just filled up with people.
On top of the tracks?
No, underneath.
Okay.
And that's when this whole works. This 72 blocks this way, whatever that was now. But anyhow, everything was burnt right to the ground there. The only thing standing was chimneys. And the United States should have never bombed there at all, because they're not supposed to be bombing where there's houses. But when they took the pictures for that, here they seen all of these big chimneys. They figured that was houses. And what it was, on each block, there was a bathhouse. The Japanese didn't have bathtubs at home. They went to the bathhouse in their block to take their bath.
So they thought it was an industrial plant.
Yeah,
but it was just
because of the chimney, see?
Oh.
Yeah.
So it was just a mistake.
Yeah, that's all it was. But in a way, like I say, that was, I always knew that, I don't remember the direct amount of money or amount of people that was in that fire that time, but there was a lot of them.
I bet. So did your wife's whole family make it okay through that? They all made it.
They all made it.
All the way through.
Yeah. Her dad and mother, they had an office downtown because I don't know, in my talk here, did I tell you about that they moved up to Hokkaido one time?
No.
Well, when they moved from China to Japan, they couldn't get into Tokyo right at that time, so they could get into Hokkaido, which is the North Island of Japan. And they started a silver fox fur farm.
Oh.
Yeah, that was Tina's dad, her uncle, and her grandpa, and her cousin, yeah. And that was the one that started that fur farm. And they were very successful, done well. And of course, in Hokkaido, that wasn't bombed during the war, so they was pretty safe there. And then right after the war, her dad wanted to get back to Tokyo because he wanted to get away from the fur farm. He had enough of it, I guess, and he wanted to go on exporting business. So that's what they did, went to Tokyo, and that started that right after the war.
Oh, okay. So they didn't live in Tokyo.
No, right. Well, they was in Tokyo, but from that, when their house was bombed that time, they was way out in the country, you might say.
Oh, I gotcha.
Yeah, and they found a small house. They had 2 rooms, is all it was, and they lived in that for 2.5 years.
Oh, so during the war, is that what they did, the Fox Farm? Or what they do? They
still had that. That was the other part of the family. Then they was up at Hokkaido.
Okay.
And Hokkaido is, I forget the number of miles now, but it's about what did it take us? 4. We went up there several times just to visit. 3.5. I think it's 3.5 hours we flew to get to that island. Yeah.
So was her parents pretty happy?
Oh yeah.
About you guys going out and getting married then?
Oh yeah,
that's a lot of different countries coming together.
Oh yeah.
In one marriage.
Oh yeah. You know, they spoke Japanese and Russian.
Yeah.
And I spoke English, and I didn't get, if Zena wasn't right with me to interpret it, that whole thing, and they never got much of what I was talking about, of course.
Man, that's a pretty amazing story. And it is.
Yeah. Well,
so then was she able to, you got all your paperwork done before you?
We got all the paperwork done and sent it in, and it went all the way up to 8th Army headquarters, and it didn't come back and didn't come back. And I was down to the house one night visiting Zena, and we was in the dining room listening to records, and a guy come out of the kitchen, and he looked familiar to me. And he come over to me and he said, "You and Zena going to really get married?" And I said, "Yeah, we're making our papers right now." So he said, "If you need any help, you just ask me. I know what to do." Mm-hmm. And I said, "Oh," I thanked him and everything. So then we sent the papers in. Took about 6 weeks, and papers come back disapproved. And there's a stack of papers, I'm not kidding you, that high. And I don't know how many pages there was. And disapproved. Oh, God. And I was just sick.
I bet.
So I had supper early at the post, and I went down there that night. And Zena and I was pretty sick about the thing, and we didn't know what to do. And pretty soon here, that guy, he was visiting her folks again in the kitchen, and he comes out and he said, "Kids, what's the problem? What's the problem here? We hear what's going on." So I told him, and I showed him the papers. He said, "What do you mean? There's nothing wrong with these papers." Well, I said, "Look at disapproved." No, he said, "Somebody just didn't want to do any digging and find out things, that's all."
Yep.
So he said, "You have your clerk make these all over tomorrow morning. I'm coming to the house tomorrow night. You bring them along. I'll hand carry them all the way up to 8th Army." He did it. And the next night he come back. "Kids, here's your papers, and get to work and set a date for your marriage."
Wow.
Yeah.
You just took the right guy.
Yeah.
Just being nice and helping.
He could speak Russian because he was brought up Russian, And he liked to visit with her folks. So he was visiting that night again down there. And, yeah.
What a miracle.
Oh, it certainly was. Yeah. Yeah.
So then you were still doing your supply job.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And then, so how long were you there? Did you know when you got there how long you'd be there for?
No, we had no idea
No
how
idea.
long we'd be there. No. But after we was there for a while, then they talked about 2 years. And I guess I was short, I don't know, a couple months of 2 years, something like that. Yeah.
Was the time went on, was there less and less military, like U.S. military there then?
No, just as much, yeah.
Just as much? Okay.
And for the first, from what I understand, for the first 6 years, it was about as many as there was to begin with.
Okay. So you got replaced by someone.
Yeah.
So then how did your wedding?
Yeah.
That must have been before you got your orders to go home.
Oh yes.
So you were married and living there for a while.
Yeah, we got married in June, and we left there in 1st of October.
Oh, so you were married for a long time.
Yeah, it all worked out.
Where'd you get married at?
At the General Headquarters Chapel in downtown Tokyo,
Oh, wow.
where there was quite a few dignitaries that was there. MacArthur was one of them. He was always at that church because Zena and I went there. Mm-hmm. We didn't really care for the chaplain that I had out on post, and that would be I'd have to go back, take her back to post and everything. So I'd just take off the whole Sunday, and then I'd pick her up, and we'd go down for church, and then we'd go to some snack bar someplace and eat, and come back home again. Yeah.
Wow. There can't be many people that said they were married there.
No, that's for sure. Yeah.
So then you'd still live on post at that point? Or were you able to move in with her?
I moved in with her.
Oh, you did? So you could live off post?
Yeah, but I kept my room and everything back at post. Yeah. And all my clothes was back down there too. I didn't want them to monkey because they didn't have a wash machine at that time.
Okay.
And we was wearing khakis most of the time. Only December and January that we wore wools. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so did you do the supply sergeant job the rest of the time you were there?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
That must have been a lot of equipment as far as a supply sergeant goes.
Oh, yeah.
Job, that had been a lot of equipment at the time.
Yeah. I had two big rooms. This was probably the smallest one, and the next one about again as big as this. Yeah.
Did you have to issue weapons still at that point, or were the weapons?
No issue. Yeah.
Did people at that point of the it wasn't a war? Did you call it occupation then at that point?
Yeah,
Is that what it was?
Occupation Japan.
Okay. So at that point of the occupation, to leave base, did you have to have a weapon?
No.
Just while you were working?
Yep.
Or while the guys were working?
Yep, that's all.
So did they turn them in and out of the supply
Oh, yes. Yeah.
room every day?
Yep. Yeah. MPs, of course, were the 45s.
Oh, yeah. I suppose they had pistols.
But we had a full complement of our authorized strength of M1s and of carbines and of sawed-off shotguns.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Did most people just take 45s then?
Yeah.
That seems like it'd be easier to carry if you didn't carry something.
That's what they call for when it'd be posted on the bulletin board where your job would be the next day and everything, Yep. And then it always said on the bottom, all weapons will be 45 pistols.
Oh.
Yeah. No, it was quite an experience, I'll tell you. It really was.
That would have been a lot of gear to keep track of and a lot of paperwork.
Oh, yes, that there was, yeah.
You must have had really nice handwriting, but if you did that at the beginning, you must have at the end to be able to keep track of all that. My handwriting, I'd never be able to.
Well, if they didn't know what my handwriting was, they'd have to come back and ask. Most of it was done on the typewriter.
Oh, I suppose. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you, how did you find out you were leaving then? Did they, when you were going home?
The first sergeant come in and in the supply room one morning, and he said, "I got your orders." I said, "When do we leave?" He says, "The 6th of October." And this was about the middle of September, I suppose.
Mm-hmm. Hey, could you, by that time, had the city became more like of a normal city then? Had it like been starting to be rebuilt?
Oh, there wasn't much been rebuilt. They didn't have any material over there at that time, and there was a few things that they was fixing up, but it all depended. Some areas that were completely just like this, there was nothing there, and then other places that there'd probably be a building here and there, and then they tried to replace a couple of them, and I don't know.
And fix up a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
So did your whole unit get replaced? Did your whole unit go home at the same time, or was it just ones or twosies?
Everybody had a different date to go home.
Okay.
Yeah. All depend when you got when you got there,
Yep. So how were you able to travel with your wife then?
Yeah.
Home?
Yeah. We couldn't stay in the same room on the boat. I don't remember what the deal was, but they was on the same floor that we was on, and it seems to me there was 3 rooms there for the females. Yeah, I think that's what it was. There was 8 to a room in those days, and I was a sergeant, of course, at that time, so I didn't have to go down in the hole. I got to be with the rest of the cadre.
You got lucky twice, 2 trips.
Yeah.
So was it female nurses too that were coming back that you stayed with, or was there more civilian?
I don't remember any female nurses coming home. I know there were several doctors.
Okay.
Because you was assigned tables to where to eat,
Yep.
And you sat at the same place every day. And then at our table, I know there was a couple chaplains, and there was some officers too. I don't remember. They had dependents, of course, over there.
Was that about the same size boat as you went over on? Or was the ride a little better on the way back?
No, it was about the same size.
Okay.
Yeah.
How many days did it take to come back?
12 and a half days. Yeah.
It's a little shorter than the 33.
Yeah.
Where'd you land at?
Over
the
there?
US. No, in the US. Where did the boat come into?
We come into Washington State. I can't tell you the name of the military post, but it was an R&R and a replacement center.
Okay.
That's what it was.
I bet were you happy to get back to the US, or did you like it over there? Like
I had a good job, and it was very interesting.
Yeah.
Because I could just about do anything I wanted to do. I had this vehicle. I courted Zena in that all the time, and there was no questions asked at all.
Yeah, I mean that would have been pretty good there too.
Oh yeah. So, no, I was down there at least 2 nights a week when I was courting her, and always on Saturdays and Sundays. And I'd go on. Most of the time, we'd go from there to the Ernie Pyle Theater, because that was a big theater where the best movies were, and they always had the latest movies, Yeah. And it was an old Japanese theater, and it was just beautiful inside. It was 3-story, and
so was there like a different theater on every level, or it was just from where you sat all the way to the ceiling was 3 stories?
That was just the main floor.
Oh.
Yeah.
I bet that was beautiful.
Oh yeah, it was a 6 was it 6 or 8 stories high? I forget what it was. But it was an old Japanese theater is what it was. Yeah. And every, I don't know, no, I shouldn't say that. But on the main floor, there was an elevated place that when they put on shows or something like that.
Like the stage?
Yeah, stage show, that's what I was thinking of. Well, they could raise and lower that. And then there was one on each side too yet.
Oh, that's pretty fancy.
Yeah, the first movie was on at 6 o'clock. And when that one was over, then you had 45 minutes of entertainment that the Japanese put on for us. And they had some awfully good bands. And of course, I was crazy about the World War II music in a way. And they played all that stuff. And, Tommy Dorsey Orchestra was one of the better orchestras during World War II, And you couldn't tell them from what he played. They was all real good.
Real good. And that was a Japanese orchestra?
Yep, right.
Wow.
Then they'd play for us for, I forget, either 45 minutes or an hour or something like that. And then the second movie would come on.
Oh.
And there was 3 stages. The center stage, of course, was the biggest one. That had a place where I suppose 20 people could sit around the table, and that could raise up or it could go down. So that, and then on each side was another stage for each side. And they also had elevators in there where you could go up and down, and they put on shows to us, and just outstanding entertainment. Oh my gosh! I
bet.
Back in the World War II music to me was the most beautiful music there was. But anyway, they knew all of our songs. They could play them band. If they said it was going to be Tommy Dorsey going to play, you swear that's what it was.
You wouldn't know the difference?
No. If you're doing the lookup, you wouldn't tell the difference. And that was always so interesting,
That would be.
Yeah. No, we had terrific entertainment over there. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Better than Ortonville. Or Bellingham when he came back.
Yeah, oh gosh. I got to tell you one story.
Yeah.
When I was supply sergeant, there was 6 of us sergeants that was always at the same table eating, and we was eating there. I had a monkey at that time, and he always sat between us.
A pet monkey?
Yeah. He had his banana, and we had our food.
How big a monkey was it?
Just a little bit of a guy. He only stood about this high. He had an act. He couldn't quite handle a full banana, so I'd break it up for him. What was I going to tell you about that now? Oh, shucks. There are so many stories.
Oh, I bet there is.
Oh.
Where did you get the monkey? I don't want to sidetrack you on this monkey thing, but...
I don't know. Somebody in another unit had it. Yeah. He come back from the Philippines, and that's where he got it. Yeah. Josan. That was his name.
That was his name? So how long did you have Josan for?
Oh, I had him for a little over a year. Yeah.
I've never had much to do with a monkey. They're pretty nice little, nice companions.
Oh yeah, very nice. Yeah. I'd hold it like this, and he'd be sitting in there, and he'd really enjoy himself, and he'd look at me when I talked to him.
That's a pretty fun story.
Yeah. That, and then, there was so many different things that was so interesting back there in those days. I wish I could think of all of them now.
When we were in Iraq, you couldn't have pets. That was an absolute, you couldn't do it.
No, I don't suppose.
But the pets got taken away right away.
Yeah.
Would have been fun to have a pet monkey.
Yeah. 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 Well, I had, in my supply room, I built as you walked in the door, the main door, I had a railing, not a railing, but like a table going in a half square here.
Oh, yep.
And we changed our linens every Wednesday and every Saturday. So I just put them up on this. That's not a table, but a bench or whatever you want to call it. And it was on an honor system. You bring in two what you call it?
Like sheets?
Sheets. Yes.
Yep.
2 sheets and a pillowcase, and you take 2 out.
Yeah,
and that's it.
Still that way.
Yeah. And I had the monkey way on the end most of the time. And if they took another extra sheet or an extra pillowcase, you should have heard him.
The monkey knew.
He'd jumping up and down, and he'd have one of his arms just like this. And I'd come running out, and I said, "Chico, what's the matter here?" And then he'd
he'd earn his banana for the day.
Yeah. I had a little boy, too.
Oh, really?
Yes. I and the lieutenant was on patrol one night. He needed some help, so he would ask me if I couldn't come with him. So I did. And before we left, we went down to the kitchen, and he said, "We got to take some food." I said, "For what?" Oh, he said, I feed a bunch of kids down there. They live under a bridge." Because there was a lot of kids that they had no idea where they was or didn't know where their parents was or anything.
Oh, I suppose.
Oh, it's terrible. But anyway, we got down to this bridge, and there was about 14, 15, I suppose, little boys. And there was some girls with them, too. And this one little boy, he kind of hung on to me all the time we was there. And then finally the lieutenant said, he said, "You keep that up," he said, "you're going to have somebody living with you." I said, "Well, I think I could take better care of them than they're getting here."
Mm-hmm.
Well, he said, "It's against all regulations, but you sure can do it till you get caught." I said, "Okay." So then a couple of weeks later, that's when I went down there and I picked him up.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, that was very nice.
He had no idea what his name was. He didn't know where he came from. He didn't know how to count. The language that he was speaking, we couldn't understand. But he got so that he could understand what we was talking about or what we meant by talking,
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, he was only, I should have brought some of those pictures along. He was, I suppose, only about this high. He had no idea how old he was.
I suppose.
No, and he didn't remember if he had a mother and a father or anything like that.
So he'd just been living with the other kids for as long as he could remember then?
Yep, Oh, he got so that he could understand what we was talking about, but he couldn't speak it very good. He could speak some, and that's all. But I felt so sorry for that little guy.
Oh, I bet. But that's the bad part about, the hard part about war or whatever.
Yeah.
It can be so good to have, the monkey can be so fun, and then there's still things that are so terrible.
Yeah.
At the same place.
Talking about that monkey, I had a nice big room in the back of my supply room. It's a bedroom, and there's like a little dining room and a little kitchen there for me too. But anyway, the bedroom was big enough so that I had a small bed for Obama-san. That's what his name was. Obama-san. That's Japanese. So, but anyway, we had an earthquake
Oh.
at night. And we just got into bed. And just like that, that monkey, he jumped from his little box where he slept into my bed, come up with a pillow, and he was shaking like a leaf. And pretty soon he went down. And he was down by my feet, and he just shaking like everything. And the lights was swinging back and forth. Well, that all quit and everything. And so finally I got him back up again, and I put him in his bed. He wouldn't stay there. He
didn't like that anymore?
No, he slept with me that night, right by my head. He was sleeping right there. Yeah. Oh, yeah. But I had a nice bed and everything for Obama's son. That was my little boy.
Cool.
Yeah.
So did he just stayed in your back room then?
Yeah. Yeah. He helped with the supply room a lot.
Yep.
I had two clerks that was always working. We was changing clothes quite regularly, and then new people coming and going, old people leaving, and then getting stuff in and out for. So they knew a little bit about all of that. Yeah.
And then you help him feed him or bring food back for him.
Oh no, he ate the rest.
Or he meant in the mess.
Yeah. There was 5 of us sergeants that always ate together.
Okay.
And when I got him, then he sat between me and another sergeant. On this side, the monkey was eating his banana. Yeah.
So then, what happened to the boy then when you left?
Well, about a month and a half, I suppose it was, before I left. I had my orders already, what day I was supposed to leave. And I and the chaplain was pretty good friends. The chaplain was, like from here to the wash rack down here, I suppose, away from all it was, So the chaplain was always up to my office because I had a coffee maker, and we'd have coffee 3-4 times a day there. And he always got such a kick out of the monkey, and then he had a dog for a while, and she had pups, so he'd bring them all over sometime. Yeah, we had a lot of fun with that. But I told him one day, I said, I don't have my orders yet, but I said, talking to the first sergeant, it sounds like it's going to be around the first part of October. And I said, what are we going to do with this boy? Yeah, he says, that's a problem. He says, let me do a little check-in here, see what I can do. So a couple of days later, he was back up and having coffee one morning with me, and he said, I got talking to another chaplain, and he and I went down to a place where it's a boys' home. And he said, I think that's where Chico should go. So one day, we didn't tell him anything. Mm-hmm. It was about a week and a half, I suppose, before I left. No, it was a little more than that. But anyway, I said to Chico, let's go for a ride today. Let's go for a ride. So he jumped in the Jeep with me, and we went. And I went into this place. And we went inside, and he didn't know if he should stay in there or not, because he figured something was up.
Yeah, I suppose.
But anyhow, and some other kids, they took him in another room and they got some candy out for him, and I ran quick and got the Jeep and took off.
Yeah.
2 days later, I got a call. Is Jeepo there? No, I said, I haven't seen Jeepo since I left him with you. Well, he took off last night on us. So 2 days later, somebody said they seen him one morning underneath one of the big barracks. They was all sitting on stilts.
Oh, yep.
Yeah. So we went down there, and we seen the nest where he was. He had some stuff in there, but he wasn't around. So we had a couple of guys watching for him, and they watched. Well, they called me, and they called the chaplain, a couple other guys too. I don't remember who it was. Well, when he seen me, he come running, and of course he hung on to me.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Then he started to cry, and that was tough.
That would have been really, really hard.
Oh, yeah. He felt like, what's the matter with you? Take the kid home and give him a good living, you know.
Yeah.
But they wouldn't let you do it.
No.
Never been in school. Had no idea what school was. Yeah.
Yeah.
There was underneath that bridge, I think there was 13 boys and 4 girls. And they had no idea where they came from or that they had parents or anything. They didn't know.
They were just trying to survive.
That's all, yeah. Because I and the lieutenant would go down there lots of times after the evening meal. We'd go down there and we'd have a whole bunch of stuff left over from dinner, you know.
Yeah.
And feed those kids, and they were so happy. Oh, gosh. You couldn't believe how fast they'd eat, gobble that stuff down.
Well, that was really nice of you guys to do.
Yeah, well, it comes to a point when those things happen and you better do something about it.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Yeah, someone had to.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I was together an awful lot with this lieutenant because he was going with a Japanese lady that was brought up in St. Paul. Her parents lived in St. Paul, and she come over there and she had a job working. I forget where it was.
So she grew up in St. Paul and then went to Japan.
Yeah.
Okay.
But she could speak Japanese, and so
okay.
That's why I think it was one of the main PXs downtown. I think is where she got a job. Yeah, and then she met this lieutenant, and they got to pretty close together, and it was I suppose pretty near a year after I got home. Then I got an invitation to a wedding.
Where was the wedding at?
It was over in Tokyo.
In Tokyo? Okay.
Yeah. This chaplain that we was with a lot, he married him.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you go back then for that?
No, I didn't.
I was gonna say, wow, that's quite the.
It had to be
That's cool.
by vote again.
Yeah, that'd be quite a thing to go back
Yeah.
for.
Yeah. No.
So then when you left, was your wife, and her parents stayed in Japan.
Yeah.
So when was the next time that you seen them?
I didn't see them, but let's see. Dallas was 4.5, and Diane was just a baby. Zena went over to Japan to see her parents and her grandparents. She wanted to make sure she had got a chance to see them again.
Okay.
And that was in September. And I told her, I said, you're going over by boat, you're coming back by boat. I said, make it worthwhile to stay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, she said, yeah. And she did stay there until the 1st of March.
Oh, so she got a good trip over there.
Oh, yeah, real good, yeah. So she came back by boat, and she come back on I forget what they call it. It was some type of a boat, and there was only 13 civilians on the boat. That's all there was.
Oh.
Then they had room for that many, I guess. Yep. Yeah.
I complain about riding on a plane for 12 hours somewhere. I can't imagine going on a trip where you take a train to the coast and then get on a boat.
Yeah.
They go that long.
We made several trips to Japan, and I tell you, it's a long time to be sitting too.
I bet, yeah. So when did you in later years did you fly then?
Yeah.
So then did you stop in Hawaii? Or is there a midpoint?
The first time that we went back, We got our tickets and everything, and then finally we got a telephone call from this lady in St. Paul that she was the one that we got our tickets from.
Mm-hmm.
She said, for $50 more, she said, and I can get you a place for $105 a night in Honolulu. She said, for 5 days, would you like to go over and then leave from there to Japan? I looked at Zena and she said, yeah. I said, okay.
That's okay. Yeah. I bet that broke up the trip pretty nice.
Oh, yeah. See, at that time, Zena and our daughter-in-law was with us. Dallas Dallas passed away in June, and this was October.
Okay.
Yeah. So our daughter-in-law and Diane was with us then. Yeah, we spent 5 days in Honolulu, and we knew at that time we was definitely coming back.
I was going to say, is that when you decided to start staying there, winters there?
Yeah.
Is that how you got there?
But we decided then, before we make any thing permanent over here, we're going to go to another island first, try that out.
Yep.
So everybody told us, well, go to Maui. You go to Maui. So, okay, we went to Maui. And yes, we knew we was coming back. And then the third time we was back, that's when we bought a place.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then you had to come back after that.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah, the last 12 years, that's after I had already sold out our business and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So we was over there then for January, February, and March. Well, my birthday's the 23rd of March, so we always come home for my birthday. We always made sure we come home, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
The weather's starting to get better. The snow's thinning out by then.
Yeah, right.
Hopefully.
Yeah. We spent 42 winters there.
Oh, man. That sounds beautiful.
Oh, I loved it. We was on the west side of the island,
Mm-hmm.
and from our place, the big picture window was right onto the ocean.
Mm-hmm.
I could sit there and watch the whales jumping around. I'd watch a birth every once in a while. And pretty soon you see the little baby, he was getting pushed up to grandma or to mother, get his first drink of milk. You know?
Oh, man. That sounds amazing.
It is something, yeah. Yeah, the little guys get their first drink, 300 gallons.
I thought making coffee by the 55 gallons was a lot.
Yeah.
What was the weather like in Tokyo then? When you were there in the winter? It snows there? I've never...
We had, the first winter I was there, we had about 6 or 8 inches of snow one night. And then, by 2 o'clock in the afternoon, it was all gone.
Okay.
Just everything but water around then, yeah.
Did you ever get leave?
Not over there, no.
No.
Mm-mm.
It was just... Okay.
No, a lot of the guys took leave and went to some other place. I forget where it was, but a lot of them went, but I wasn't interested at all. I was very happy where I was.
Yeah. You should, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we've been talking for a long time. I was wondering, so if you have any more about Japan, and then some other day, we could come back and talk about like the beginning of the guards.
Okay. Yeah.
Would that be okay? It's starting to get late.
Yeah, it's 8 o'clock already.
It's 8 o'clock. Like if we could talk about the beginning of the guards and all that, I would really appreciate it.
Okay.
If you'll come back.
I'll just tell you what my beginning was with the guards. This was when I was a senior in high school.
Mm-hmm.
they had what they called the Home Guard at that time.
Yep.
It took the place of the National Guard, only that the Home Guard gets the same training, but they cannot activate them. It's just for any disaster at the locally someplace, you know. And I had two buddies that I roller skated with that was in the Guard, and they kept begging me to join, and so finally I did. And I just ate that up, you know. It was an infantry. Our first sergeant, our executive officer, and the commander were all World War I veterans.
That doesn't even seem believable. Like
No.
now? Like for me, that doesn't seem like that.
Well, it didn't seem possible for me then. But anyway, we really had good training, really good training. And that's where I learned how to march troops and do the manual arms, how to teach the manual arms and all that stuff, you know. I just ate that up. I just thought I had everything.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. That would have been that, like doing it, like learning at the armory is such a different.
yeah. See, we had infantry training. And then when the National Guard was activated in 1950. In January 1950, it was activated for 2 years during that Korean War.
Okay.
And at that time, they started up guards, and that was a medical unit. Dr. Karn was the commander.
Oh,
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
yeah. I had a cousin that, well, she's 10 years older than I am, but you know how he joined that unit because he was so interested in medical stuff. Mm-hmm. And he was a farmer, and his dad always wouldn't let him go to college. And so,
So he was going to learn something.
yeah, and he did. But he really liked it, and yeah, they had good training. But the training that we had was, well, I tell you, the downstairs in the basement, over in the northeast corner, that was fenced off. I suppose about as wide as this room, and then the long way up to the mess hall, and all the way back to the north wall.
Yep.
That was called the bullpen, and that's where the recruit training was. And that's where you learn to march. That's where you learn to do manual arms, and that's where you got, well, all your classes that you normally get in basic. You know.
Yep.
That's where that was held. Yeah. So, and I joined that just as soon as I graduated from high school, and against my parents' permission.
Yeah. They lost a worker.
But my cousin that I was telling you about, he joined the same time I did. So I always said, well, Marwood's dad doesn't mind. I don't know why you should. I got by with it.
Yeah. You got to try it.
Yeah. So then, when I went in the service, why, I don't know how, I think it was just marching all the time, just about all I was doing there for first week in marching was over to the mess hall. But anyway, this one staff sergeant that was marching us one day called me out to the side when we got to the mess hall. And he said, "You had any military training?" I told him what I had. He said, I want you to come over to the orderly room at such a certain time." And he said, "You and I are going to be talking to the commander." Holy crap, what did I do?
Yeah, that's not what you want to do.
But anyway, he told the commander that he had his eyes on me for some time, and he said he knows more about what's going on out there than a lot of people do. And he said, when there was a staff sergeant that had to go home for his dad's sickness or something. When he leaves, which was going to be within 5 days, he said he should be the next platoon sergeant.
And that's how you got your spot.
I got it, you know. And of course, as a private. They couldn't promote me, but I had acting jack stripes, and I was a king of it.
You were the king. Yeah.
Yeah, I really like that. Oh boy. No, I tell you, I wouldn't take $1 million for all my experiences over there.
No? Yeah, no, it wouldn't be worth trading it out.
No, it's and a lot of it is what you make of it.
It's all the attitude you have and what you make out of life.
When I was acting platoon sergeant there, I was given a dismounted drill classes and what was it? I don't know, some other class. Was it first aid? No, it wasn't first aid. It was something else, and now I had to study for it. But the colonel come over one day when I was giving a class, and he said, I heard a lot about you, and he said, your duties are going to be over with here before long. I want you to stay. He said, we need a guy like you here. I said, don't wish for anything like that on me. I said, I won't do it.
You can't do too good a job.
No. So, no. Yeah, then after I retired from the Army, then I retired when I was 60 years old when I retired.
Mm-hmm.
And that was in March, and about the 10th or 15th, something like that, of April, I got a telephone call from some colonel. He introduced himself on the phone to me, and he said, would you be interested in serving on a committee called Employer Support of the Guard and Reserve? I said, I'm interested, but I don't know anything about it. Well, he said, that's good. He said, we'll teach you. I said, well, how much am I going to be gone, and so on and so forth. And I said, well, after the meeting here, I said, I was at Fort Snelling, and I was at the meeting that he invited me to.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So after that meeting, I'll probably have some questions for you. Good, he said. So I had some more questions for him, and I said, you'll get an answer back if you give me your telephone call within 10 days. Well, when that 10 days was up, I said, yep, I'll serve. And I was on that for 28 years.
That's a whole nother career.
Yeah. I was all over the United States. We called them boss lifts. We could take 42 people on an airplane and go to a military installation someplace and show them exactly what the training is all about and so on.
Mm-hmm.
And we went as far as Key West, Florida, and as far in the west as I don't know how many of those little posts we was on the way on the west coast, you know. We'd leave by 9 o'clock on one day and be gone all that day, and the next day then would be at our destination already, and then the following day that we'd show them everything that the training that they're doing there, and then we'd get on a plane and come back home. And most of the time it was KC-35s, which is a tanker.
Mm-hmm.
And we'd be refueling planes going and coming back.
Oh, I bet people love that.
Oh, they did, yeah. We'd make sure that everybody that wanted to see it could go in the back, and they got that big round window back there, lay on their belly and watch when the plane comes up and see the little E5 girl there running that probe. You wouldn't think she knew up from down, but boy, I that boom, she'd get that thing locked in, and then she'd be in contact with him. How many pounds you want? See? She'd set the thing for that. That's what they got.
That's the God. Yeah, I bet everyone was happy on those.
Oh, yeah. See, I had 40, I think, was it 40? No, it wasn't either. It was 36 National Guard units and 2 reserve units that I was in charge of for this. Kind of
Was that mostly in Minnesota then?
It's all Minnesota.
All Minnesota.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So when we went on these boss lists, we had to make the arrangements and also make sure that the guys that we have on the committee, give them first chance to go. And if we get it filled up, why then it's fine. If not, we try to get somebody that's never been on something like that.
Yep.
And the thing really was, there was a time there about that, during that time, or a little before, that the people in many places where there was a guard unit or a reserve unit thought that all it was just a great big beer party. They didn't think there was any training or anything, and they come complaining to the government on what a waste of money we was. Well, they started this boss lift deal to show what kind of training they're really getting in these reserve units and National Guard units. And they get a different attitude after that.
That's where it all started from?
Yep.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah. And we went to, I don't know how many different posts in the West Coast and southern United States, as far down as Key West, Florida. I was always the first one out of the plane because I had to take head count to make sure I got everything.
Yeah.
And I was taking head count, and I looked up at the building. It was not twice as far as it is from here to the wall. We was that close to the building, you know. And the door going in there, and right above the door it says, "Welcome to Key West, Florida, elevation 6."
That's not much.
No, that really tickled me, and I got several pictures of that. Yeah. Yeah, I had that for 30 years. And besides that, I also was called to, what post was that now? In California? Oh, I should remember that post. Darn it. But that was the 47th Division's sister division. And when they went down to fire their howitzers, which they had, they couldn't fire the howitzers at their post there where we was. They had to go to the National Guard post, which was 90 miles south of there. And the sergeant major worked a deal that if he could just get people to come along and show them what they're doing, and probably that would teach us something. Mm-hmm. And I was selected for that job. So I went to all of those, and I enjoyed it very, very much, and got to know a lot of people, and we had a good time, and that was really something.
Yeah, with all the employer support stuff and that, you must have known like half the field artillery.
Oh, yeah.
In like the country.
Oh, yeah, you get to know quite a few.
There's not that many people when you get down to it.
No, there isn't. No, that was very interesting. I got to a point where, boy, there was 2 colonels. They just couldn't wait until I got there because I generally brought something for them. Yeah, they got a big kick out of that. And one of them was a black man, and he was the nicest full colonel I've ever met in my life. And boy, if I come on post, and if he couldn't see me right away, he'd give me, heck, you got to come to my office first. You got to come to my office first. Yeah. I took Dana along a couple times, and the first time I took her along, they met us at the airport, and then that was on a Sunday, and all the first sergeants and the sergeant major was there to greet us when we come in, and then the sergeant major, two of the gals from that, I think they was couple sergeants that was their wives. In a way, they got a hold of Zena, and they said that they was going on a tour the next day, and they wanted her to come along. So here, all of the first sergeant's wives, and the sergeant major's wife. I forget who else. There was another bunch in there somehow. They all was on a tour.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, they had a big time that day.
Oh, I bet it was.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whereabouts was that? Do you remember?
Yes, it's right on the ocean in California, and I cannot think of the name of that.
You got the state, though. I bet it was beautiful.
Oh, yeah.
California.
Oh, yeah, it was nice there. Very nice. Yeah. Yeah, and then the last time I was there, then they put on a big party for me because they knew when I was going to retire.
Oh, yeah, that was nice of them.
Yeah, they had a big party for me and everything. Well, yeah, all the guys brought their wives, and yeah, we really had quite a time there. And then they had the next day before I left, and they had a big big parade. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I had to be on the reviewing stand with the colonel. Yeah.
Looking sharp.
No, that was a good experience. That was real good. I really enjoyed that, and I stayed with the sergeant major, and he was a black guy, and he was just the nicest fellow you ever wanted to meet. Yeah, he was really a nice fellow. Yeah.
Yeah, you meet a lot of people.
Oh gosh, yes.
A lot of nice people.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
Like a lot of really nice people.
Oh yeah.
I always like going to the schools and stuff because you met so many nice people.
Yeah. Right.
From all over the world.
Oh, that's for sure. Yeah.
It really broadens your perspective than Western Minnesota.
Yeah. Well, I got to tell you, probably get a kick out of this one. I had 5 guys that in Minnesota that were working under me. I was, well, you might say the commander for them or whatever you want to call it. But anyway, we'd have a meeting, say like the 1st of the month, and like the 20th of the month, we was going on what they called this boss lift by air, someplace. And everybody was assigned so many people. And I had a superintendent of schools, and I can't tell you what the name of the town was in southern Minnesota. He never could find anybody to go. I could never find anybody to go. Yeah, I just got sick of it, and I made a special trip and went down there one time, and of course, just like I thought, he never even tried,
Yeah.
Well, typical superintendent of schools. And I told him that. But anyway, I said, now we're leaving on date so-and-so. I expect at least 3 people that you got to have present to go along. There's no sense in us making that trip and have those empty seats. Mm-hmm. Because you're in charge for your unit here to have that many people, and you better have them. Well, the night before I was going to leave, he called up, well, I just can't find anybody. I just can't find anybody. I said, are you going? Oh, yes, I'm going. I said, you dumbass. I said, you haven't even tried, have you? Well, he wouldn't answer me, Well, I said, I tell you what. I said, tomorrow morning, you get on the telephone and start calling. And I said, now, here's a telephone call I want you to call, because I'm pretty sure this individual, you'll get to go. And I said, here it is. Here's the telephone number. Her name is Diane Vagsness. I said, she's a teacher at the college here in Worthington. I said, she'll go. So he was the only one, or she was the only one that was called. So we took her along.
Well, I bet that was fun.
Yeah, we went to San Diego that time. That was a very interesting trip. And there was the two guard units that we went to, and a couple military police unit, an army unit. So everybody got a chance to see what was going on. Because the story went that how it got started, nobody knows, but they claimed it was going around that the National Guard and the reserves didn't do any training. All it was just a big beer party once a week. Uh-oh.
Uh-oh. It'll go away.
Oh. But anyway, that was... we was all up in the air about that, and that's when we was all called to Washington, or not all of us, but a bunch of us were called to Washington one time. We had a meeting with the big boys down there, and they want to know what we thought of this deal, having a boss lift.
Mm-hmm.
And we all thought it was a pretty good deal, so they went with it. And we did that for 7 or 8 years, I guess it was. I don't know how many different posts I was to, but boy, I was to a lot of them.
I bet, yeah.
We'd leave one morning, be gone all that day, all the following day, and then the next noon, we'd fly back. Just a short trip, you know. But we got to see training. We got to see their mess halls and different things like that, you know, that most people... If they've never been in the service, it's an eye-opener.
It's an eye-opener, or in the even flying.
Yeah.
Even flying on those planes. It's not like flying commercial.
And most of the time, we went with KC-135 tankers. We'd refuel on the way going out and the way coming back. Yeah.
Yeah, that was an amazing program.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that was great. Yeah, when I took Diane along that time, I took her right back, and I got her to lay down and crawl up to the big window that big around.
Yeah.
And she watched the plane come in, and she watched the little girl that run the probe out, and got connected, and she was talking, and she could hear him talking. And she says, "How many pounds do you want?" And he told her how many pounds, and she bang, put it in, bang, put that many in. Okay, you can take off.
Away they go.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing.
Yeah. That was it's really nice. Yeah. Then the best part of it was when we were coming home, we started loading, and this was a KC-135, and they didn't have any. What do you call it? They had the stairway going to get in. They didn't have it.
It wasn't off the airport.
It was out in the open.
Yep.
And so Diana and I was going up the steps. She was ahead of me. And I seen the pilot standing up there, and he winked at me. And he did like this. And I said, yeah. So when Diane got up, and he says, ma'am, would you please come with me? Oh, yeah. She had her medical bag with her, and I guess she thought that somebody was sick or something. So he takes her into the cockpit, and he says, "What do you think of all this?" So they start explaining stuff to her and everything. And it was getting close to leaving time, and she says, "I better go back and sit down." Well, he said, "Would you like to sit here for a while?" Oh, yes. Well, he says, "Just put on that harness and strap yourself in, and then you can ride up here with us."
Oh, that would be super fun.
And she rode all the way back to Minneapolis that way. From where was we? We was San Diego. Yeah, that's where it was.
That'd be a good trip. That'd be fun.
Oh, yeah.
It's right up there.
Oh, it is, yeah.
You probably can't do that anymore.
I did it yet a few years ago.
Did you?
Oh, yes. Of course, I knew the pilot.
You knew the pilot. Yeah, that helps.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh. Oh. I had the time of my life. I really did. On my military career, I wouldn't take $1 million for all the experiences I had. I really wouldn't.
You've seen a lot of things from it.
I certainly did. Yeah. Right.
But you had to put a lot into it, too.
Well, that
wasn't all for free.
No, that's right. No, that's true.
It wasn't a vacation.
No.
But it's amazing, amazing things you could see.
Yeah. Yeah. But then we was activated during 1950,
Mm-hmm.
for 2 years. And
you were part of that?
Yeah. Yeah. I had been in the Guard after my active duty. I must have been out about 3 years or so, I guess, when we got activated with the National Guard. Because I joined the National Guard within 4 or 5 months after I got home the first time. And when we got the orders to go, they told us it would be Camp Rucker, Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
Why, I went down to the armory and talked to the commander, and the exec was in the office. I said, I'm a World War II vet, and I've had an experience in riding in troop trains, probably all that I ever needed to let you know what they're like. And maybe I'd like to leave that up to somebody else that never had that chance. I said, you don't by any chance need another truck driver? Yes, he said, we do. He says, you got a license? I said, I certainly do. And I dug my license out, and he said, good. He said, you can drive a truck down to Alabama.
You got out of the train.
So we had three trucks from our unit. We drove down 2.5 ton trucks with 1.5 ton trailers with them, haul our equipment down. Yeah. Took us 5 days. Yeah.
That's probably long enough in a deuce and a half.
Yep, it is. It is, yeah. Yeah. We got down there. They've got to our barracks. The doors were hanging off, probably on just on one, probably probably just a nail type for all we know. It's just terrible. And the windows, a lot of them was broke, and the doves flying out of it, and there was crap all over inside. And here in 5 days, we was going to have troops down there, and we were supposed to clean everything up.
Oh, man.
And it was already dark when we got there, and we just had flashlights to look around a little bit. So the next day, we went down to Post Engineers, see if we could draw some equipment. Nope, we don't have nothing for Yankees. They got to furnish their own stuff. I said, we'll buy it from you. Nope, we don't sell to anybody.
Oh.
Just like that. So we put all our money together, and we went to town the next day and spent every bit of our money to get cleaning equipment so we could start cleaning out our barracks.
Man, you wouldn't think you'd have to do that.
No.
Were they like World War II barracks then? They'd just been abandoned after?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that was terrible. Oh, gosh.
That sounds terrible.
We worked, for 4.5 days before the troops got there. We was working, until it got dark,
Yeah.
They wouldn't turn the lights on for us. They wouldn't have that. He said, you don't need that until your troops come. Oh, I tell you, those people down there, they don't like Yankees.
It sounds pretty hostile.
Oh, it is very, very. Yeah. Yeah, Zena said she was in a grocery store one day. She was in line, but she wasn't told anything. But there was another gal behind her that was, I don't know, 2 or 3 behind her. And she was talking and laughing about something, and pretty soon the guy that was running the till comes back and he said, "You can get to the back of the line." He said, "You're not going to get any quick. You're not going to get any quicker than that."
Oh.
Yeah, you can't behave yourself. Yeah, she was talking. Oh boy.
Rough crowd.
That was terrible. And the way they treated the blacks that time, if a black would have been any place in a line, pretty soon whoever was in charge, you get your butt back to the back of the line. Yeah.
And that was in the army?
No, that was
or in the stores.
In the stores. Yeah. It was just terrible.
That sounds terrible.
Oh yeah. Yeah. No. Alabama people are different. We are much different.
Much different. Yeah, especially in 1950.
Oh yeah.
That's for sure.
But we made it through.
We made it.
We went to Texas on a 52-day maneuver. That's
a long maneuver.
Oh, yes, it is. And we drove the trucks over there, too. All our equipment over there.
Did you trained in Alabama for a while? Before you went to Texas?
We did, yes. About a year and 3 months. What it was actually, see, we went down there with 72 men, and they started picking men out and sending them to Korea, and they picked out the ones, I don't even remember who was all picking them out, but people that we didn't know, and we were supposed to stay back, and then they started filling us in with fillers.
Okay.
And we went down with those 72, and they filled us up to 154. And the difference between them all had to be trained.
Yeah.
So we give them the classes and then the training and everything for them. And then after we was down there just a little over a year, then we got the first call to Korea. And we had to furnish 42 men the first call. And we figured the only decent way probably to do it is, rather than say you, and you, see if anybody would volunteer.
Okay.
My gosh, we had 40-some volunteers right away. Yeah.
Well, that worked out good.
Yeah, that worked out real good. And then every other Friday for quite a while, then we had a call. And then it was down to, well, I guess the least was probably 3, and then probably 5 was the most at a time. Yeah.
And then would they send you replacements?
No, they didn't.
Or your unit just kept getting smaller and smaller and smaller?
That's right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. About all that was left was some of the senior NCOs that was World War II vets like myself.
Yep.
Yeah. I got volunteered by my commander one time to go to Korea, and the colonel called me down to the office. He says, "Is that damn commander volunteer you to go to Korea? Is that true?" I said, "Yep." He says, "That's OB." He said, "I'll get even with him." He says, "You are not going, and I'll bet you any amount of money he's going to go before long." And he was my neighbor.
Oh,
my postmaster too. And I didn't like him.
Yeah,
but I didn't have to.
Didn't matter.
But anyway, he went to Korea and I stayed back. But his orders had to come right from Washington. Of course, all officers do.
Yep.
So, but the colonel told me, he said, I know people in high places. I can
make things happen.
Advise them where they can get another piece, how would you put it, another body.
Another body. So then what happened once you were down to almost no strength? Then did they deactivate you?
Well, no. Let's see. See, they filled us up to 268 people. And we was only authorized 112, that's what it was.
Okay.
And it was just, well, when we get a call, it was generally up to the first sergeant and probably some of the other senior NSAOs to volunteer people to go, and that's the way that was.
So when did that mobilization end? What was the end point of that?
Well, all of us World War II vets, and then there was 6 of us. We got to go home already in August of the second year. So what happened after that, I really don't know.
Okay.
No.
That's a long time.
Yeah.
And so that was that 2 years? Almost?
Yeah, they was down there 2 years, yeah. Except for us World War II vets, yeah.
Yeah.
And I was on SFC at that time, and I don't know, 2 or 3 days after I was home, I was doing some work at our house before we moved back in, and I went down to the hardware store, and here I met Moon Simonich, and Moon says, "Hey, I'm sure glad you're here." He said, "You and I got to start up the guards again. I'll see you Monday night at the armory."
And that was the start of the next chapter?
Yeah, that was it. Yeah.
Wow.
I went down that evening and I sat there. We visited for a little while, and he said, "I'm your new commander, and you're my new first sergeant." So that's the way we started out.
And next time I want to start right there, because I think that's going to be a great story.
Okay.
That's going to be great.
Okay.
There's a lot of people that don't know how any of that started. So it'd be great to...
No, I don't suppose they do.
Yeah. No one knows that. And just assume that it always was there.
Yeah.
Or like a big government was doing things or something, not just 2 guys.
Yeah. No. There was a lot of different things, I'll tell you. But I was